So you all have access to a document that looks like this. It's part of your science fair project proposal. And on the left side here, there's a bunch of tabs, and one of them is the research tab. And so this is a place where you can catch your notes and make sure that your notes are all in the same place. So at the top of this document, these are links to different things called databases. A database is basically a search tool that allows you to look for articles or research papers that are specifically related to the topics that you're searching for. Um, and those articles are already known to be peer-reviewed or trustworthy. And so my topic for my science fair, I want it to be related to students' mental health. So I'm going to open the PubMed database. And so when you're searching in a database, so you don't want to type in a long sentence or a big question. You just want to give the database a specific set of 3 or 4 words that are related to and capture your topic. So for example, if I'm interested in student mental health, I could just look up student mental health in the database. And so when I look for results, there's a lot of options here on the left that allow me to filter what kind of articles I see. So one of these tools that's really helpful is the year filters. Let's say I only want articles from the last 5 years, then I could make sure that the search results are only pulling up papers or publications that were released in the last 5 years. Text availability, so you want to make sure that you have the free full text or as you're selected because that will allow you to guarantee to have access. So yeah, there's all these different options, but I think the best one would probably be how old the articles are and whether or not the articles were free. So I'm going to start looking through some of these articles and seeing what I can find here. And I notice as I'm reading through just the titles, it seems like a lot of these articles are related to students who are in advanced degrees, so nursing schools, college students, university students. But I'm really interested in students who are in public school, K through 12. So I'm going to refine my search and just add K through 12 student mental health and see if that gives me other information. Okay, so now it's giving me only research related to K through 12 students. So as I'm going through this, I'm trying to find articles that have titles that seem to capture what kind of problems that I'm interested, things that are most related to me and my community. These are kind of like different policies, practices. So how can politicians make changes? That's not really what I want to do for the science fair. Here's something related to Canada, but I don't live in Canada, so I don't really want to do that. Um, and this one I've already opened, but it's about different uh, strategies, supports, right? It's different ways that schools have actually tried to support their students in K through 12 public schools. So since I work at a K through 12 public school and I'm interested in what kind of supports I can offer my students, I'm going to click on this article. So, uh, on this site, it gives me what is called the abstract. And the abstract is basically the brief summary of what the researchers tried to do, how they did it, and what they found. This abstract is very sectioned out, but some abstracts are just a paragraph and you have to kind of find the different sections within the writing. So the abstract is not the full article.
Abstract is not the full article.
And so if you want to use this source, and I would suggest that you get the full article. And so the way that you could do that is if you see right here, it says full text links. So I'm going to click on this one that says free full text PMC. And so this gives me this full article of what the researchers found and everything that they wrote about it, as well as the data that they collected, what the different statistics are, and then different areas of the actual writing. I can look at the actual publisher's version of the article, and if I click on this link, it will take me there. So when you're in an actual article, you'll notice that there are several different sections aside from the abstract. So The abstract is usually followed by a small introduction. So, for example, sometimes it doesn't say introduction, but sometimes it will. And that introduction usually it describes what the problem is that the researchers were interested in resolving and reason why they decided this project would actually be an interesting scientific question to pursue. Then you can scroll down and you can find the methods section. So the methods section is how the scientists, what they actually did in their experiment to discover their results. What was their experiment? How did they collect their data? And since you're all doing the science fair, this is sometimes a really helpful section because it explains you how actual scientists design their studies and could give you some inspiration for how to design your own science fair project. After the methods section comes the results section. So this is kind of the meaty part of the article. This is where they tell you everything that they discovered during their experiment. So this is where you'll find basically the main takeaways, right? So oftentimes in this section there are data figures, pictures or graphs that show what the researchers found. And then finally there's a discussion. So the discussion is going to be where the authors of the article talk about what this means, why this is important, or how they could improve their study. So that's a really important section as well. And then the last very important section is the references. So sometimes if you're interested in a specific topic, it's really helpful to go to the references section and find other helpful sources of information that you can use to inform your study. Okay, so how do you actually read this? Scientific articles are often written with lots of complicated words. For example, chi-square test is a type of statistic test, but you wouldn't necessarily know that just by reading those words. And so, my biggest tip for understanding a scientific article, don't be afraid to use Google. So, if you are reading words and you don't understand, um, then you should just have a Google page or even ChatGPT to look up what that word means and have it explain it to you in a way that you can understand. The next tip that I have for when you're reading a scientific article is scientists really get lazy when they write, and they like to make lots and lots of abbreviations and acronyms. So here's an example of one. Emergency department is shortened to ED here. And then you'll notice that they'll never mention the word emergency department again. They're just going to say ED over and over again. So the thing that I recommend you doing is when you see an article use acronym, you should write down the acronym and then what it actually means on a piece of paper next to you. So that way, if you see it pop up again, you're like, oh, what is ED? They're just dropping this. You can just know, oh, it means emergency department.